The small human vessel drifted through the darkness of space like a leaf caught in a slow current. Its hull was old, marked with scratches and dents from decades of service. Inside the cramped cockpit, Admiral Marcus Webb sat alone, his weathered hands resting on the controls. His gray hair was cut short in military fashion and deep lines creased his face. He was 73 years old and he knew exactly what was about to happen. The sensors beeped. 3 massive ships appeared on the screen, dropping out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. They were Galactic Council vessels, each one 10 times larger than his small craft. Their hulls gleamed with advanced armor that could withstand weapons humans had not yet invented. Their engines burned with a blue light that seemed to mock the orange glow of his own outdated propulsion system. Webb did not try to run. He simply sat and waited. The communication panel crackled to life. A harsh, clicking voice filled the cabin. "Human vessel, you have violated Council territory. Cut your engines and prepare to be boarded. Any resistance will result in your immediate destruction." Webb reached forward and shut down his engines. The ship went silent except for the soft hum of life support. He stood slowly, his joints protesting after hours in the pilot's seat, and walked to the small cargo bay. He did not bother to arm himself. That was not why he was here. The boarding was efficient and brutal. The airlock exploded inward with a burst of cutting plasma. 6 Kryn warriors stormed through the smoke, their forearms carrying weapons that hummed with deadly energy. They were tall, reptilian creatures with scales that shifted colors to match their surroundings. Their eyes were cold and calculating. They found Webb standing in the center of the cargo bay, hands raised, completely calm. "I am Admiral Marcus Webb of the Terran Defense Forces," he said clearly. "I am your prisoner." The Kryn leader cocked its head, confused by the lack of resistance. In their experience, primitives either fought or begged. This old human did neither. They bound his hands with energy restraints that glowed blue against his wrists and led him to their flagship. The journey to the council chamber took 2 days. Webb was kept in a small cell with a window that showed the vastness of space. He spent the time in meditation, remembering faces he would never see again. His wife, dead for 5 years. His daughter on the Mars colony. His grandchildren, who called him on video calls and showed him their drawings. He thought about them and felt the cold certainty of what was coming settle deeper into his bones. When they finally brought him to the Grand Assembly, Webb had to pause at the entrance. The chamber was enormous, a sphere carved from a single asteroid and reinforced with transparent metals. Hundreds of beings from across the galaxy filled the tiered seats. Some were humanoid. Others were so alien that Webb's mind struggled to process their shapes. There were beings made of gas contained in force fields, creatures that floated on gravitic waves, and massive insectoid forms that clicked and chittered to each other. At the center of the sphere floated the Overseer, the leader of the Galactic Council. It was an insectoid being the size of a small vehicle, with a crystalline exoskeleton that refracted light into rainbow patterns. Its multiple eyes focused on Webb with an intelligence that was ancient and cold. "Bring the human forward," the Overseer commanded. Its voice came through a translation device but still carried harmonics that made Webb's teeth ache. The Kryn guards pushed Webb toward the center platform. He stumbled slightly, playing up his age, and heard laughter ripple through the assembly. "Good," he thought. "Let them laugh. You are Admiral Marcus Webb," the Overseer stated. It was not a question. "I am." "You command the human military forces?" "I am one of several fleet admirals, yes." More laughter. A serpentine creature in the upper tiers hissed loudly. "They have several admirals for their pathetic fleet? How many ships do humans possess, Overseer?" 300. 400. The Overseer's eyes never left Webb. "Our intelligence suggests the humans have approximately 470 combat-capable vessels. Most are outdated by our standards. Some still use chemical propulsion for maneuvering." The chamber erupted in jeering sounds that Webb's translator could barely process. A blob-like creature that communicated through color changes flashed what Webb's device interpreted as amusing primitives. "And yet," the Overseer continued, "you violated our borders. Your colony ships have been detected in systems we claimed 3,000 years before your species discovered fire." "This is unacceptable." Webb said nothing. He simply stood and waited. This was the important part. They needed to talk, to posture, to demonstrate their superiority. Every minute they spent mocking him was a minute humanity used to prepare. A new voice spoke from the left tier. It belonged to Avrin, a species that resembled upright wolves with 6 legs and crystalline growths along their spines. Perhaps the humans do not understand mathematics. Allow me to educate you, old creature. The Vryn alone possess 10,000 warships. The Zilthari have 8,000. The Kron have 6,000. Together, the Council commands over 50,000 vessels, each more advanced than anything your primitive world has produced. Do you understand these numbers? I understand them, Webb said quietly. Then you understand the futility of resistance, the Overseer said. We are not without mercy. We recognize that humans are a young species, ignorant of galactic law. Therefore, we offer you terms. Evacuate your illegal colonies within 1 planetary rotation. Return to your home system. Remain there for the next century while we determine if your species is capable of civilized behavior. Refuse and we will remove your colonies by force. Webb looked up at the Overseer. His old eyes met those alien orbs without fear. And if we refuse your terms? The chamber fell silent. Then the laughter began again, louder than before. The idea that humans might refuse seemed to be the funniest thing these ancient species had heard in centuries. A Zilthari representative, a being of pure energy contained in a mechanical body, spoke with a voice like grinding metal. If you refuse, old human, we will demonstrate why the Council has maintained peace in this galaxy for 10,000 years. We have weapons that crack planets like eggs. We have ships that can sterilize a world from orbit in hours. We have fought and defeated species far more advanced than yours. You are insects to us, annoying but easily crushed. Webb nodded slowly as if considering this information. I see. You've given this a lot of thought. We have considered every possibility, the Overseer said. Why do you think we are telling you this? It is not a threat. It is simple reality. Your species cannot win a war against the Council. No species can. This is why there is peace. I understand, Webb said. He took a breath, feeling the weight of what came next. Then I have a question, if I may. The Overseer gestured with a bladed limb. Speak. Why did humanity send an old man like me for such an important negotiation? The question caused a stir in the assembly. Several beings made sounds that Webb's translator marked as confusion or curiosity. We have wondered this ourselves, the Overseer admitted. It seems strange that your species would send someone so diminished. Is this an insult? Or simply incompetence? Webb smiled then, and something in that smile made several of the nearer Council members lean back. I volunteered, he said softly, and my government accepted because I'm one of the few humans old enough to remember the last time my species truly went to war. The real kind of war, the kind where survival is the only goal. You speak of your primitive conflicts, a Kron representative said dismissively. The silicon-based being's voice sounded like rocks grinding together. We have studied your history. You fight amongst yourselves over resources and territory. Children squabbling over toys. Yes, Webb agreed. We do fight amongst ourselves. We've been doing it for our entire history. Thousands of years of continuous warfare. We've developed quite a talent for it. The Overseer's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. And you believe this gives you an advantage against species who have conquered star systems? Webb's smile faded. His expression became something colder, harder. No, Overseer. I believe it means we understand something you've forgotten. But you'll remember soon enough. The chamber erupted in angry sounds. The Overseer raised a limb for silence. You have 1 rotation, Admiral Webb. Evacuate your colonies or we will do it for you. This audience is concluded. As the guards moved to take him away, Webb turned back. You want war, Overseer? The ancient being regarded him with something that might have been pity. Do not be foolish, human. You cannot want war with us. Webb's voice cut through the chamber like a blade. You want war? We'll give you war. The laughter followed him all the way back to his cell. They kept Webb in a cell with walls made of some kind of energy field that hummed constantly. The sound reminded him of old power lines back on Earth. He sat on the simple bench they had provided and waited. He knew they would bring him back. Species like these always wanted to gloat, he was right. 6 hours later, the guards came for him again. This time they brought him to a smaller chamber. Only a dozen council members were present, including the Overseer. They wanted a more intimate setting for what came next. They wanted him to see their confidence up close. Admiral Webb, the Overseer began, settling its massive form onto a floating platform. We have reviewed your species' military capabilities in greater detail. Perhaps a more thorough understanding will help you see reason. Webb said nothing. He simply stood and listened. A Vryn commander stepped forward. Its crystalline spines glowed with inner light as it spoke. The Vryn fleet consists of 10,347 warships. Our smallest vessels are twice the size of your largest. Our weapons can punch through your hull armor like it does not exist. We have shields that would absorb your entire arsenal without failing. In simulations, a single Vryn battle group could destroy your entire fleet in less than 1 standard hour. The commander paused, clearly expecting a reaction. Webb gave none. A Zelthari representative drifted forward. Its mechanical body gleamed under the chamber's lights. The Zelthari possess dreadnoughts capable of cracking continental plates. We have used them 3 times in our history to end species that threatened galactic peace. The process takes approximately 6 hours per planet. Your Earth would be rendered uninhabitable in less than a day. Still, Webb remained silent. His old face showed nothing. A Kron delegate, its silicon body reflecting light like a living diamond, spoke in grinding tones. The Kron have developed molecular destabilization weapons. They cause matter itself to lose cohesion. We used them to end the Haleth expansion 2,000 years ago. An entire civilization of 12 billion beings spread across 40 worlds ceased to exist in a span of 3 weeks. We still have these weapons. We maintain them precisely for situations like this. The testimonies continued. Each species detailed their military might, their victories, their technologies that seemed like magic compared to human capabilities. They spoke of wars lasting centuries, of weapons that could sterilize solar systems, of defense systems that could detect threats across light years. Through it all, Webb stood quietly, his hands clasped behind his back in an old military posture. His face remained calm, almost meditative. This seemed to frustrate them. "Do you understand what we are telling you?" the overseer finally asked. "Do you comprehend the scale of power you face?" "I understand," Webb said softly. "Then why do you not show fear? Why do you not beg for your world?" A Serpentine council member asked, its hood flaring in agitation. Webb looked up at the assembled beings. "May I tell you about human history?" The overseer gestured permission. "If you believe it relevant." "We've been fighting wars for at least 10,000 years, Webb began. His voice was quiet but clear. "Probably longer, but that's as far back as our records go with certainty. We've never stopped. Not for a single generation. Somewhere on Earth, someone was always fighting someone else." "We know this," the Vryn commander interrupted. "Primitive tribal conflicts. Disputes over resources and territory." "Yes," Webb agreed. "But let me tell you about the scale. In our first truly global war, we killed 17 million people in 4 years. We poisoned entire regions with chemical weapons that made the soil deadly for decades. We learned to kill efficiently." The council members shifted uncomfortably but said nothing. "Then we did it again," Webb continued. "A second global war. This time we killed between 70 and 85 million people in 6 years. We developed weapons that could destroy entire cities in seconds. We called them atomic bombs. We used them. Twice on cities full of civilians." "Barbaric," someone muttered. "Yes," Webb said simply. "It was, but that's not the important part. The important part is what came after. We developed bigger bombs, hydrogen bombs, bombs that made the first ones look like toys. We built thousands of them. We pointed them at each other and said, 'If you attack us, we will destroy your entire civilization.' And the other side said the same thing back." "Mutually assured destruction," the overseer said. "We are familiar with the concept. It is a deterrent." Webb shook his head slowly. "You think of it as a deterrent. We thought of it as a promise. For 50 years, my grandparents' generation lived knowing that any day, everything could end. Cities could become shadows on glass. Millions could die in minutes. And you know what? They were willing to do it. Both sides were willing to push the button if it came to it. But they did not," the Zeltari said. "Reason prevailed. Luck prevailed," Webb corrected. "There were at least 6 times when we came within minutes of total nuclear war. Each time it was stopped by a single person making a choice. But the willingness was there. The weapons were there. We were ready to end our world rather than surrender to the other side." The chamber was quiet now. The mocking laughter had stopped. Webb continued, his voice growing harder. "And those weapons? They still exist. We haven't used them in over 2 centuries, but we haven't forgotten how to make them. We've gotten better at it, actually. Our modern weapons are far more efficient, but that's not all we learned." He began pacing slowly, his old body moving with the careful precision of a career soldier. We learned to weaponize disease. We created viruses and bacteria designed to kill. We learned to poison water, to salt earth so nothing would grow, to burn entire forests to deny them to our enemies. We developed gas that would eat through any protection and dissolve human lungs. We built machines that could kill millions and operated them like factories with schedules and quotas. Enough, the overseer said, its voice sharp. We do not need a recitation of human atrocities. Webb stopped and looked directly at the ancient being. You asked why I don't show fear. This is why. Every species here has told me about their weapons, their victories, their power. But I haven't heard anything humans haven't already done to each other. You threaten to destroy our colonies? We've destroyed our own cities. You threaten to make our worlds uninhabitable? We've poisoned our own planet and had to spend centuries cleaning it up. You talk about ending our civilization? We almost did that ourselves, multiple times. You claim this makes you strong? The Kron delegate asked. It sounds like madness. Maybe it is, Webb admitted. But it's also experience. Every species here has fought wars for territory, for resources, for political power. You have rules, honor codes, lines you won't cross because war is a tool for you, a means to an end. He paused, letting the silence stretch. For humans, war isn't a tool. When we truly go to war, when our survival is at stake, there are no rules. There are no lines we won't cross. There's only survival or extinction, and we will do anything, burn anything, sacrifice anything to survive. Brave words from a prisoner, the Vryn commander said, but its voice lacked the earlier confidence. Webb smiled again, that cold smile that didn't reach his eyes. You think I'm afraid of dying? I'm 73 years old. I've lived a full life. I've seen my children grow up. I've held my grandchildren. If I die here, I die satisfied. But my grandchildren are on Mars. My great-nieces and nephews are on New Hebrides colony. You threaten them. You threaten all of humanity's children. He leaned forward slightly, his voice dropping to almost a whisper. There is nothing, and I mean nothing, that a human won't do to protect their children. We have a saying. Mess with Mama Bear's cubs and see what happens. You've just poked Mama Bear. All 7 billion of her. The overseer's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of agitation. You continue to make threats you cannot back up. Your fleet is insignificant. Your technology is centuries behind ours. What can you possibly do? Webb straightened. I told you. We'll give you war. The kind of war humans know how to fight. The kind where the only goal is to hurt you so badly that you lose the will to continue. Not to beat you. Not to conquer you. Just to make victory cost more than you're willing to pay. You're insane, the Serpentine Council member hissed. Maybe, Webb said, but we're also very, very good at it. We've had 10,000 years of practice. And unlike you, we're not fighting for territory or resources. We're fighting for survival. That's a different kind of war entirely. The overseer rose from its platform. This conversation is pointless. You have one rotation, Admiral Webb. Evacuate or be removed. This is not negotiable. As the guards moved to take him away, Webb called out one more time. Overseer, I have one question. The ancient being paused. What? Do you know why my government really sent me? Why an old man instead of a young, strong soldier? Enlighten us. Webb's expression became something ancient and terrible. Because I volunteered to die. Because I'm old enough to remember real war and young soldiers still have hope. Hope that peace is possible. Hope that reason will win. I have no such hope. I know what's coming, and I wanted to look you in the eye when I delivered the warning you won't hear, because I understand pride, Overseer. I'm counting on it. The chamber doors closed behind him and the council sat in uncomfortable silence. The rotation passed slowly. Webb spent it in his cell, sitting in meditation or staring out at the stars. He didn't sleep much anymore. Old soldiers rarely did. The guards brought him food that his translator assured him was safe for human consumption. It tasted like paste, but he ate it without complaint. He needed his strength for what came next. When they finally came for him, Webb knew the time had arrived. The deadline had passed. The council would want him present for their demonstration of power. They would want him to see humanity's colonies evacuated or destroyed, to witness their might firsthand. It was the way of empires. Show your dominance. Make it clear. Break the spirit before you break the body. The Grand Assembly was full this time. Every seat was occupied. Thousands of beings from hundreds of species had gathered to watch the council's judgment. Webb was brought to the center platform again, But this time he was placed in a transparent containment field. They wanted everyone to see him clearly. The overseer floated above, its crystalline form catching and reflecting the chamber's lights. Admiral Marcus Webb of the Terran species. The rotation has ended. Your colonies have not evacuated. Do you have anything to say before we proceed with enforcement? Webb stood straight despite his age. His voice was clear and strong. I have a question first, if you'll permit it. The overseer gestured with a bladed limb. Ask, did you detect any human ships evacuating the colonies? We did not, the overseer confirmed. Your colonies remain fully populated. This is why we must act, Webb nodded slowly. Then I suppose there's only one thing left to say. He paused, letting the silence build. The entire assembly waited. You want war? The chamber erupted in laughter again, just as it had before. The sound echoed off the walls, a chorus of species that found human defiance hilarious. We'll give you war, Webb finished quietly. The overseer's mandibles clicked in what might have been pity. Admiral, you cannot want war with the Galactic Council. Your species would not survive. You're probably right, Webb agreed. But that's not really the point, is it? Then what is the point? The Vryn commander demanded from its seat. Webb turned to face the warrior species directly. The point is what you told me yesterday. You said you could destroy our entire fleet in under an hour. That your simulations proved it. Did you ever wonder why we'd give you the chance? Something in his tone made the laughter die away. The overseer leaned forward. What do you mean? That ship you captured me in, Webb said conversationally. It wasn't a diplomatic vessel. It was bait. And you took it beautifully. A ripple of unease passed through the assembly. The overseer's multiple eyes narrowed. Explain. You spent a full rotation mocking me, showing me your strength, explaining why we can't win. Very thorough. Very impressive. You gave me exact fleet numbers, weapon capabilities, strategic deployments. Thank you for that, by the way. Our intelligence services were missing some details. The Kron delegate's crystalline form flashed with anger. You think you gained intelligence from us? We told you nothing you couldn't have discovered on your own. True, Webb admitted. But more importantly, you gave us time. While you were parading me around, demonstrating your superiority, making speeches about your power, humanity was doing something you clearly didn't expect. We were preparing. The overseer made a sharp gesture. A holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber, showing the sectors of space containing human colonies. Our sensors show no unusual activity. Your colonies remain in place. Your fleet positions have not changed significantly. Webb smiled. Check your subspace communications. The overseer hesitated, then made another gesture. A technician in one of the lower tiers worked rapidly at a console. The holographic display shifted, filling with data streams. Then the technician made a sound of alarm. Overseer, the subspace bands they're saturated with human transmissions, military encryption, fleet movements, weapons protocols. It's everywhere. The display changed again, showing the communications network that spanned council space. It was lit up like a festival, glowing with thousands of human signals. The technician worked frantically. I'm decrypting what I can. They're not trying very hard to hide it. These are mobilization orders. Every human colony is activating military reserves. Every civilian ship is being retrofitted. Every station is coming online as a weapons platform. The chamber exploded into sound. Species shouting questions, demanding answers, calling for immediate action. The overseer's voice cut through it all, amplified and commanding. Silence. The noise died to a murmur. The overseer turned all its attention to Webb. This changes nothing. You are still vastly outnumbered. What are you playing at, human? Webb's expression became colder. You told me about your wars. Centuries-long conflicts over territory. Battles for resources. Wars fought with rules and honor codes. Wars where the goal is conquest or political advantage. That's not the kind of war humans fight when survival is at stake. All wars are about survival. The Zelthari representative said. No, Webb corrected. All wars are about victory. Survival is just assumed. But humans learned a long time ago that sometimes you can't win. Sometimes the enemy is too strong, too numerous, too advanced. So we developed a different strategy. He began pacing in his containment field. We learned to make victory so expensive that it becomes meaningless. We don't fight to win territory. We fight to break your will, to make you question why you're fighting, to make you fear what we'll do next. The overseer's mandibles clicked rapidly. You're describing terrorism. Guerrilla tactics. These are the weapons of the weak. Yes, Webb agreed readily. They are. And humans are very, very good at them. We've been using them against each other for millennia. Every empire that ever existed on Earth learned to fear the guerrilla fighter. The one who doesn't stand and fight honorably. The one who strikes from nowhere and vanishes. The one who turns your strength into a liability. A Vryn warrior stood, its spines glowing with aggression. We have faced such tactics before. They are annoying but ultimately ineffective against superior force. Webb turned to face the warrior. Have you? Let me ask you something. In all your wars, all your glorious victories, how many times has your enemy destroyed their own territory rather than let you have it? How many times has your enemy turned their own colonies into weapons? How many times has your enemy looked at certain defeat and decided that if they can't survive, neither should you? The silence that followed was profound. You haven't, Webb continued, because species that join your council fight civilized wars. Wars with rules. But Earth is different. We never had a unified government until 200 years ago. For most of our history, we were dozens, then hundreds of separate nations all fighting each other. We developed weapons specifically to hurt our own species. We got very good at it. The holographic display shifted again, showing new data. The technician's voice was shaken. Overseer, I've decrypted more of the transmissions. The humans are discussing something called Scorched Earth Protocol. They're preparing to destroy their own colonies. Impossible, the Kron delegate said. Why would they destroy what they're trying to protect? Webb answered before the Overseer could. Because if we can't keep them, we'll make sure you don't get them either. Every colony has fusion reactors, power cores, ships in orbit. All of it can be weaponized. You want our territory? Fine. Come take radioactive wastelands. Come occupy ruins. Come try to hold ground where every building might be booby-trapped, every system might have hidden viruses, every citizen might be a resistance fighter. The Overseer's voice was cold. You would sacrifice your own people? We've evacuated the non-essential personnel, Webb said. The people still there? They volunteered to stay. They know what's coming. They're willing to fight, willing to die, willing to take as many of you with them as they can. That's what you don't understand about humans. When you threaten our children, our homes, our species, we don't calculate odds. We don't consider surrender, we fight. And we fight dirty, another technician called out. Overseer, we're detecting weapons signatures. The humans are bringing online systems we didn't know they had. Nuclear arsenals, biological weapons, chemical agents. Some of these readings don't match any known technology. Webb's smile was grim. During our peaceful decades, while we were making friends and learning about the galaxy, we were also preparing. We studied every species we met. We learned your biologies, your weaknesses, your fears. We designed weapons specifically for each of you. Viruses that target Vryn respiratory systems. Nanites that disrupt Kron silicon structures. Frequencies that cause Zelthari energy matrices to destabilize. We have them all. We haven't deployed them because we hoped we'd never need to, but we have them. The chamber erupted in outrage. Beings shouting about war crimes, about violations of galactic law, about the unthinkable nature of such weapons. Webb waited for the noise to die down. You're right. These weapons are terrible, unthinkable, evil even, but they exist. And if you push us to extinction, we'll use them, all of them. Because humans have a saying, if I'm going down, I'm taking you with me. We mean it. The Overseer's voice was quiet now, dangerous. You're threatening mutual destruction. Not threatening, Webb corrected. Promising. You want war? We'll give you war. The kind where nobody wins. The kind where victory and defeat. The council war room was organized chaos. Dozens of technicians worked at holographic displays that showed the entire theater of operations. The Overseer hovered at the center, coordinating responses while Webb watched from his containment field. They had moved him here deliberately. They wanted him to see humanity's defeat. They wanted to break him by showing him the futility of resistance. But as the reports flooded in, Webb saw something different. He saw confusion, hesitation, the first cracks in the Council's confidence. Fleet Commander Vryn Taral reporting. A voice crackled over the communications system. We have arrived at New Hebrides colony with Battle Group 7. 2,000 ships as ordered, Overseer. The holographic display showed the system. New Hebrides was a modest colony on a planet with 3 moons. The human defense fleet was visible on sensors. Barely 100 ships clustered around the main settlement. Destroy the defense fleet, the Overseer commanded. Then begin orbital bombardment of military targets. Keep civilian casualties to a minimum. We are not monsters. Webb said nothing, but he smiled slightly. The battle began exactly as the Council expected. The Vryn ships were faster, stronger, better armed. They moved in perfect formation, their shields absorbing the human weapons' fire with ease. The human ships fought back desperately, using every trick they knew. They paired up, covering each other's weak points. They concentrated fire on single targets, trying to overwhelm shields through sheer persistence. They even attempted ramming attacks when their weapons ran dry. It was brave. It was futile. Within 30 minutes, the human defense fleet was reduced to debris. Pitiful, the Kron delegate muttered, watching from the war room. They fought with courage, but courage means nothing against superior force. Webb still said nothing. He simply watched. The Vryn fleet moved into low orbit, preparing for bombardment. Their weapons could precisely target military installations, while leaving civilian areas mostly intact. It was surgical, civilized, the proper way to conduct warfare. That's when the colony exploded. The blast registered on every sensor in the system. The entire planet's surface erupted with the fury of 1,000 fusion reactors detonating simultaneously. The shockwave caught the Vryn ships in low orbit before they could react. Shields that could withstand weapons fire meant nothing against the raw physics of a planet-scale explosion. 300 ships vanished in the first second. Another 500 were caught by the expanding plasma wave, their hulls melting like wax. The remaining ships tried to jump to faster-than-light speeds, but the gravitational distortions from the blast made it impossible. They could only watch as their fleet died. The remaining human ships, small and fast, used the chaos to jump away. They vanished into faster-than-light travel, leaving behind nothing but destruction. The war room fell silent. Every being present stared at the display in shock. Where New Hebrides had been, there was now a glowing cloud of radioactive debris. What happened? The Overseer demanded. Report! A technician worked frantically. The colony's fusion reactors were overloaded, simultaneously. Along with every ship in orbit, every fuel depot, every power core. The colonists evacuated weeks ago, Overseer. The entire planet was a trap. A bomb waiting for us to get close. The Kron delegate turned to Webb. You destroyed your own colony, killed your own planet. Better a dead world than a world you control, Webb said quietly. And better your ships destroyed than allowed to move on to the next target. 300 Vryn warships gone in an instant. How long does it take to build replacements? Years, decades? The Overseer's mandibles clicked rapidly. This changes nothing. We have other fleets, other colonies to target. Then I suggest you check on them, Webb said. More alarms. More reports. The technicians' voices overlapped in their urgency. Explosion detected at Armstrong Station. Antimatter signature. The colony at New Shanghai is gone. Same pattern as New Hebrides. Zelthari fleet engaging human forces at Ross 128. They're reporting unusual tactics. Human ships refusing standard engagement. The holographic display zoomed to Ross 128. A Zelthari fleet of 1,500 ships had cornered a human force of maybe 70 vessels near a gas giant. The human ships should have been destroyed quickly. Instead, they were fighting in a way the Council had never seen. The human ships dove into the gas giant's atmosphere, using the dense clouds to hide. They emerged at random points, fired on the Zelthari ships, then dove back into cover before return fire could hit them. When Zelthari ships followed them into the atmosphere, the humans led them into storms where lightning and pressure crushed hulls. When the Zelthari tried to bombard the planet from orbit, the humans used the moons as cover, their smaller ships able to hide behind celestial bodies, while the massive Zelthari dreadnoughts had nowhere to go. It was infuriating, uncivilized, dishonorable, and it was working. They're not fighting to win, the Vryn commander said, watching in disbelief. They're fighting to survive as long as possible. No, Webb corrected. They're fighting to make you pay. Every ship you lose, every hour you waste, every resource you expend, that's what they're fighting for. To make victory so expensive, you start to question if it's worth it. A new voice came over the communications. This is Dreadnought Zelthari Prime. We have lost 40 ships trying to eliminate a human force 1/10 our size. They refuse honorable combat. They strike and run. They use terrain. They sacrifice damaged ships to destroy ours. This is not war. This is barbarism. This is human war, Webb said. Get used to it. The reports continued through the night. Every human colony became a battlefield, and every battlefield became a lesson in frustration. The humans refused to fight the way the Council expected. They booby-trapped their own installations. They hid weapons in civilian structures. They used suicide tactics, ramming damaged ships into valuable targets. They spread mines that drifted for days before activating. They released clouds of reflective particles that jammed sensors. They hacked Council communications and broadcast demoralizing propaganda. Worst of all, they targeted Council psychology. Human analysts had studied every species, learning what frightened them, what made them hesitate, what broke their morale. Vryn warriors found themselves facing opponents who screamed in their own language over open channels, who knew their names, who described their families on their homeworld. Zeltari energy beings encountered human weapons specifically designed to disrupt their matrices, causing pain their species thought impossible. Kron silicon forms discovered that humans had developed nanites that could corrupt their crystalline structures, causing madness. None of these weapons violated the letter of galactic law because humanity had never signed the treaties. They were not Council members. They had no honor codes to break because they had never agreed to them. The war room's atmosphere changed over the following days. The initial confidence disappeared. Council members argued with each other, blaming different fleets for incompetence, questioning strategies that had worked for millennia. Webb watched it all from his containment field. They had stopped talking to him directly, but he knew they were aware of his presence. They shot him angry glances, as if his existence was somehow responsible for their problems. On the fourth day, a Vryn fleet commander's voice came over the communications, tight with barely controlled rage. "This is Commander Talash at the Nova Scotia colony. We have spent 16 hours in combat with a human defensive force. They have turned every building into a fortress, every street into a kill zone. My warriors are trained for honorable combat, not this guerrilla butchery. We have lost 200 soldiers clearing 3 city blocks. At this rate, it will take months to secure this single colony. And for what? When we finally take it, it will be rubble. The humans are destroying everything as they retreat. We will win nothing but ruins." The Overseer's response was cold. "Continue the assault, Commander." Overseer, with respect, why? What is the strategic value of a devastated colony? What do we gain from this? We gain obedience, the Overseer said. We gain the knowledge that the Council cannot be defied. But Webb heard the uncertainty in that ancient voice, the first whisper of doubt. More days passed. More fleets engaged human forces. More ships were lost. The casualty reports climbed steadily. 500 Council ships destroyed. 1,000. 1,500. The numbers were small compared to the Council's total strength, but they were growing. And more troubling, they were unpredictable. Traditional military analysis suggested that at this rate, humanity would be defeated in weeks. But traditional analysis assumed a traditional war. It assumed enemy forces that could be located and destroyed. It assumed territory that could be held. It assumed an enemy that fought for victory. Humanity was doing none of these things. Their fleets scattered and regrouped unpredictably. Their colonies were either destroyed or turned into meat grinders. Their soldiers fought until they died, taking as many Council troops with them as possible. They were not trying to win. They were trying to bleed the Council dry. A Zeltari commander's transmission was particularly telling. "We have successfully taken the Mars orbital stations. The humans abandoned them without..." 3 months into the war, Admiral Marcus Webb had become thinner. His captors still fed him, but the stress of watching the conflict unfold had taken its toll. His hair had gone completely white. New lines had appeared on his face, but his eyes remained sharp, watching everything, missing nothing. The war room had become his permanent prison. The Council wanted him there, needed him there perhaps. He was their reminder of what they were fighting against. Or maybe they just wanted him to see humanity's inevitable defeat. But defeat was taking longer than anyone expected. The holographic displays told the story in numbers that kept growing. The Council had lost 30% of its fleet. Not 30% destroyed exactly. Some ships were damaged beyond repair. Others were trapped in systems where human tactics made exit dangerous. Still others were tied up in occupations that consumed resources like hungry mouths. But the effect was the same. The Council's effective fighting force had been reduced by nearly a third. The losses weren't evenly distributed, which made things worse. The Vryn had taken the heaviest casualties. their warrior culture making them the most aggressive and therefore the most vulnerable to human ambush tactics. The Zelthari had lost fewer ships but were suffering from psychological trauma their species was not equipped to handle. The Kron, most resistant to physical damage, had instead fallen victim to human cyber warfare that corrupted their silicon-based thinking processes. Worst of all, the Council was fracturing. Webb listened to the arguments that filled the war room daily now. Species blaming each other for failures, questions about strategy that would have been unthinkable 3 months ago, whispers about the cost versus the gain. "This is madness," a Vryn commander declared on the 7th day of the 3rd month. "We have lost 4,000 ships. 4,000. To accomplish what? We have taken 3 human colonies and found them worthless. Radioactive wastelands or ruins so thoroughly destroyed they cannot be salvaged. Every other colony we attack becomes another bleeding ulcer, consuming troops and resources while giving us nothing in return. We are establishing dominance," the overseer replied, but its voice lacked the earlier certainty. "We are teaching the humans the price of defiance, are we?" The Zelthari representative's mechanical body flickered with agitation. "Or are they teaching us? My analysts have been studying human propaganda broadcasts. They are being transmitted to every corner of the galaxy. Every species can see them. They show our ships burning, our soldiers fleeing, our fleets confused and outmaneuvered. They are not broadcasting defeat. They are broadcasting resistance, and others are watching." Webb had seen the broadcasts. Humanity's media warfare was almost as effective as their physical warfare. They had turned every battle, even losses, into propaganda victories. A single human ship ramming a Council dreadnought became a symbol of determination. Colonists fighting to the last became martyrs. Destroyed colonies became proof that humans would rather die free than live under Council rule. The message was spreading. Webb had heard reports of unrest in Council territory. Species that had been conquered centuries ago were suddenly restless. Pirates and raiders who had been suppressed were becoming bold again. The iron grip of Council authority was loosening. "The Talvec system has requested military aid," a technician reported. "Rebel forces are attacking Council installations." "Tell them we have no ships to spare," the overseer snapped. "All our forces are committed to the human war." "That's their 3rd request this week, overseer. If we don't respond, we risk losing the entire sector." Webb spoke quietly. "Your empire is starting to crumble." "We told you this would happen." The overseer whirled on him. "Silence, human. This is your fault. Your species' barbarism is infecting the galaxy with chaos." "No," Webb replied calmly. "We just showed everyone else that the Council could be challenged. They're making their own choices about what to do with that information." A new alarm interrupted the argument. A technician called out urgently. "Overseer, we're detecting unusual energy signatures in human space. Multiple locations. The signatures are consistent with weapons of mass destruction being brought online." The overseer moved to the display. "Show me." The hologram zoomed to show Earth's solar system. Around the planets, on moons, and asteroid bases, weapons were activating. The display marked them with red icons. Nuclear arsenals, biological weapon facilities, chemical weapon stores, and others weapons the Council's sensors couldn't fully identify. "Those are the weapons we told you about," Webb said. "The ones we designed specifically for each of your species. We've been holding them in reserve, hoping we wouldn't need them. But if you push us to extinction, we'll use them all." "You're bluffing," the Kron delegate said, but its crystalline form flickered with uncertainty. To deploy such weapons would be suicide. The Council would retaliate with total annihilation. "Yes," Webb agreed. "It would be suicide. Mutually assured destruction. The same doctrine that kept humanity from destroying itself for 50 years. You think it doesn't work? Ask my grandparents' generation. They lived under that threat every day. They were ready to push the button if necessary. So are we." The overseer studied the display. "This is madness. Total war serves no one." "That's what we've been trying to tell you," Webb said. "But you wouldn't listen. You thought your superiority made you invincible. You thought primitive humans would bow to your threats. You were wrong." A Vryn general stood, its spines glowing with rage. "We should strike now. Full force. Commit everything. Crush them before they can deploy these abominations." "And lose how many more ships?" the Zelthari representative asked. "We have already lost 30% of our fleet. A full assault on fortified human positions could cost us another 30%, maybe more. And for what? To rule over radioactive ruins while our empire collapses behind us? We cannot show weakness, the Overseer insisted. If we back down now, every species in the galaxy will challenge us. They're already challenging us, Webb pointed out. You've received, 10 requests for military aid in the past week? How many more rebellions will start if you commit your remaining forces to defeating humanity? How many of your subject species will see this as their chance for freedom? The chamber fell into an uneasy silence. Webb could see the calculations happening behind alien eyes. The math was simple and brutal. They could probably defeat humanity, but the cost would leave them vulnerable. And in the galaxy's current state, vulnerability meant death. More days passed. The Council continued to fight, but the intensity decreased. They were pulling back, consolidating forces, choosing battles more carefully. The aggressive pushes became defensive positions. The overwhelming assaults became cautious probes. Webb watched it all and knew the war was ending. Not with victory or defeat, but with exhaustion. On the 93rd day, the Overseer came to Webb's containment field alone. The ancient being looked tired, if such a thing was possible for a creature of its type. Why? The Overseer asked simply. Webb understood the question. Why resist? Because you gave us no choice. You demanded we surrender our colonies. You threatened our species with elimination. What did you expect us to do? We expected you to be reasonable, to recognize reality. Reality is subjective, Webb said. Your reality is 10,000 years of unchallenged rule. Our reality is 10,000 years of constant struggle for survival. We see the world differently. Your species is suicidal. Maybe, Webb admitted. Or maybe we just value freedom more than safety. Maybe we'd rather die fighting than live as subjects. It's a human thing. You might not understand it. The Overseer was quiet for a long moment. The Council is prepared to negotiate. Webb felt something loosen in his chest. Relief, maybe. Or perhaps just recognition that the worst might be avoided. What are your terms? We will withdraw from human space. You will keep your colonies. But there must be guarantees. You cannot be allowed to threaten galactic stability. We never wanted to threaten anyone, Webb said. We just wanted to be left alone to grow at our own pace. That is not possible now. Your resistance has inspired others. The galaxy is less stable because of your actions. Webb shook his head. The galaxy is less stable because your empire was built on threats and intimidation. We just showed everyone that the Emperor has no clothes. That was always going to happen eventually. We just accelerated the timeline. What do you want, human? What will it take to end this war? Webb stood straight despite his exhaustion. Complete withdrawal from all human space. Reparations for the colonies you destroyed in your initial attacks. And a non-aggression pact. You leave us alone, we leave you alone. You don't threaten our species, we don't deploy our weapons of mass destruction. Simple. And if we refuse, then the war continues until one of us is extinct. Maybe both. Your choice. The Overseer made a sound that Webb's translator struggled to interpret. Frustration, maybe, or defeat. The Council will consider your terms. Don't take too long, Webb said. My people are getting tired. When humans get tired, they get dangerous. They start thinking that if they're going to die anyway, they might as well take everyone with them. You've seen our history. You know what we're capable of. The Overseer left without another word. Thank you for watching and comment for next part.